Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Kylie Quiggle's Bookworks. I am going to be running you through my March wrap up. I only read 13 books this month, which for me, I wanted to read more just because I'm behind on my Goodreads goal, but I think it was pretty solid. So, I don't know. Hopefully I can get more in next month because I think I'm like 17 books behind on my goal, and if the rest of the year keeps looking like this, then I'm just gonna lower my goal. So, anyways, 13 books I read this month. So first off, I read Horrid, which was basically how do I put this? It was a family moves to a new island. It's haunted. It's creepy. Wasn't really creepy. Um, the writing was okay. I didn't love it. I think the plot could have been a lot stronger because for me it was very predictable, but overall I think it was an okay book. Honestly, I wouldn't reread it again just because for me it wasn't as thrilling or creepy as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah. The next book I read was From Blood and Ash, which is receiving a lot of hype right now and everybody's sort of reading it. I originally had tried reading, I believe the author's name is Jennifer L. Armentrout. I had originally tried reading one of her other books, and I got a couple pages in and I decided I did not like it, so I didn't finish it. The only reason I read this book is because it was supposed to be enemies to lovers, and to be honest, I did not like the relationship of the two main characters. At the end, there's a big like plot twist, and I did not like that plot twist, and I did not like where the book was going because for me, it felt a lot more toxic and manipulative than I wanted it to. And I believe there's a sequel. I don't know if I'm going to read the sequel. The writing was surprisingly pretty good. Like, I liked the writing, but I did not like the plot at all. I think that the plot and especially the characters could have been written better. I think that the relationship was really toxic, and then just the overall vibes that I was getting from that relationship and what might happen later, for me, I think if you've read ACOTAR or like, I think I'm saying that right, or like any of SJM's books, I think you'll like it, but for me, it just wasn't for me and I didn't vibe with it. Next I read Chain of Iron, which is Cassandra Clare's new book, and I feel like I read this like forever ago. That's how long March has been for me. But I really enjoyed Chain of Iron. I stayed up really late reading it. I think that there was a miscommunication trope, which I do not love. It was sort of frustrating, but it was also like, oh my gosh, angst. But I still enjoy Cassandra Clare's writing, and I'm really looking forward to the third book. So I'm really hoping that it all goes well because the second book was really good, and I'm really hoping that all the characters like turn out well. Just crossing my fingers there for them. Next I read Grown. I believe it's by Tiffany D. Jackson. As always, there'll be stuff below. So it's about this black girl and sort of her experiences with grooming and sexual assault. And I thought that it was a really good eye-opener. And the way that she wrote it, it was a bit of a mystery where it gives you a glimpse of the conflict at the very end of the book. And so you read it wondering, how do you get there? What's going to happen? And overall, I thought that it was a really well written book, and I think that the idea that it was trying to get across to its readers was really well written and received. Next, I read The Shadows Between Us, which is a reread because after reading From Blood and Ash, I really wanted more enemies to lovers, so I reread The Shadows Between Us. Still a really good book. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first time. There wasn't as much enemies to lovers as I had wanted. It's more of just they weren't really enemies, they were just sort of begrudging friends turned lovers. I would describe it as similar to The Selection, where the two main characters decide to work together for the better good of the country, and then they sort of end up falling in love with each other, and then there's that like betrayal, but then they get back together. So basically the same plot as The Selection, but with a lot darker aesthetics. So next I read The Princess Will Save You, which is meant to be based on The Princess Bride. There's the 80s movie, and then there's also a book. I have read the book. The book is good. And as far as The Princess Will Save You, it was interesting. I didn't love it. I think it was sort of it was a more generic YA royalty sort of thing. I still thought it was good and it was well written and it was an enjoyable read, but it wasn't my favorite book. Next, I read A Taxonomy of Love, which is about this young man who has tics and this young man who has Tourette syndrome, and so he has tics, which are basically involuntary actions or like blurting things out, things that he can't control. And so it's him navigating his life, and he has a crush on his neighbor, and so just trying to figure out his life and do the best he can. I thought that it was a really interesting read, and I really enjoyed reading about his life and seeing his struggles. I am not sure if the author has Tourette syndrome, so I'm not sure if it's Great Disability Rep, but from what I understand, I think it was pretty solid. But if not, please call me out on that. I don't want to spread misinformation. Next, I read Rules for Being a Girl, which, if you have seen the movie Moxie on Netflix, they are very similar. There was also, in Rules for Being a Girl, there was a similar plot. In Rules for Being a Girl, there was another plot about grooming and like sexual assault with the teachers at the school. So just check trigger warnings for that. As always, the trigger warning link will be below. I really enjoyed the book. I thought that it was really well written, and I also like how it touched on how there is a difference between, feminism for white women and feminism for women of color, and I like how it talked about that. Both the authors are white, so they couldn't say too much on it, but if you are looking for more books about women of color sharing their experience in feminism, let me know so I can share a couple down in the comments below. And the next book I read was Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. So this is the prequel to the Hate U Give book, and I thought it was a really good book, and I really enjoyed reading it and seeing more of Maverick's life before he had Star. I was expecting more later background to his character, like what was going on, like when he got arrested and when he was gone for some of Star's childhood. The book only touched on, I think, when Maverick was about 17 and about a year into that. It was a really good book. Angie Thomas writes phenomenally, and I think that if you haven't read The Hate U Give or Concrete Rose, I'd go check it out because it's really good, and it's a really eye-opening book to the experiences that I know as a middle-class white woman do not experience. So, yeah. Next, I read Gods of Jade and Shadow, which I absolutely loved. I read one of Silvia Moreno-Garcia, I think that's her name. Yeah, Silvia Moreno-Garcia's books earlier this year, which was Mexican Gothic, and I loved that book. And then this one, Gods of Jade and Shadow, talked a lot more about Mayan culture, and I thought that it was really good, and it was just sort of a, life has its good moments, but a lot of times things don't work out, and that's okay, which I really enjoyed. So go read that book because I don't know who else has read it, and I really wanted to talk to somebody about it because it was really, really good. Next, I read Loki, Where Mischief Lies, which is, I believe it came out in 2019, but I think it's gaining some more popularity recently. And I absolutely loved that. There was a lot of tie-ins to the comics and to the cinematic universe of Marvel. So it was very exciting to read about. And then I also liked seeing a lot of the background in Loki's character and understanding him as a character and just a kid. Because if you don't know, in Asgardian years, Loki is about 16, 17, and I believe Thor is about in his early 20s. Not completely sure, so do your own research if need be. Anyways, that was a really good book. There was also the Enchantress in that book, if you don't know her from the comics, or I believe there was a animated TV show with her in it that she was the villain in. I'm not completely sure. Next, we had Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, which I just finished earlier, and it was really good. Personally, I really enjoyed her writing. I know that a couple people I know have shared that they don't particularly like it and they don't think it's her best book, which I would agree. I don't think it's her best book. I think Six of Crows was her best book. I loved her writing in Six of Crows, and I thought the plot worked really well for it. But Rule of Wolves was still really good. I will be doing a later full out review of King of Scars and Rule of Wolves as soon as I get my copy, which I think should get here on Friday. So expect that soon. I really enjoyed what she did with the characters, and I think that there was definitely a lot of growth and development for a lot of her characters, which I will be touching on later. I do think that there is a certain plot line that I think she could have left out, but I do see how it's necessary for the development and growth of her characters. So it's a bittersweet sort of thing. The last book I read was You Have a Match by Emma Lord. I previously read one of her books, Tweet Cute, last month. I enjoy her writing, and I think that You Have a Match was really sweet and cute. I don't think that I would read it again, but it was just a fun, cute read. So, and that is my March wrap up, 13 books. As always, there are important links down below to help Indigenous peoples and Black Lives Matter. I will also be adding a link of resources about Asian American lives, as there has been a lot of recent hate crimes. Please understand that at my channel, you all matter, and I'm here for you. And I don't condone any bigotry or racism. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful week.